And without further ado, spawning in the top position of Lightshade, give it up for our pink Protoss. He is ZOUN. And his opponent, down here in the bottom, he's got 3 letters, but he only needs one of them to beat you down. Give it up for DRG. I am doing fantastic, Mr. Zeiss. I hope you are having a fantastic day as well. Lot of good stuff coming up today, not just for Alpha X, but also IEM. It's got its last group of the day, and you know, I don't want to call it a group of death. There hasn't really been a group of death at this tournament series because all the players are, while they're kind of evenly matched, there's not really any kind of difference between them. So, you know, tomorrow we're gonna see the last couple of players make it out, and it's just gonna be a straight up who's the better player rather than, you know, who has the better name. But coming back to this one, it looks like we do have a couple of common things here. DRG did go for that third base to prevent the Pro from slowing down his build order, and he's going for the low ground third. Now, there's a couple of advantages to this and a couple of disadvantages. The big advantage is that this means that he's going to be able to spread that creep a lot quicker down that middle corridor, which is kind of the main attack path for a ZOUN or Joan, and that's going to make sure that he stays completely safe and has a very early warning system. But on the backside, it does mean that it's much closer to Joan as well, and there are a couple of build orders that Joan can do early on that can really mess with it. You know, we see an Adept coming out here, and we also see Warp Gate very quickly, followed up right afterwards by that Stargate. So if he does decide to go into Void Rays, it's going to be a little bit harder to defend that third. And yeah, well, we will have to see, because there is a possibility that he's just going to go back to the old style of meta. Just get an Oracle, get maybe a couple of Phoenix to kind of fly around and cut the Overlords down. And then from there, kind of just transition into this Twilight Council robo facility. But, yeah, it's starting to shape up here. Okay. There we go. This is kind of the more fun option here, getting that Void Ray first, because it kind of puts the fear that you are going for Mass Void Ray, but then you can just go straight into Oracle behind it, and then you don't really have to commit, and that's kind of the big thing about it. DRG, you know, he does have to kind of recognize this, and the Void Ray is out, taking care of his Overlord. So from here, he is going to have to just pop out a couple of additional Queens, start to bank up some of that energy for the Transfuse, just in case Joan is going to be doing exactly what he's doing, which is throwing down that second Stargate. So it's going to be full on Void Ray pressure here from ZOUN. Now, there's a couple of different things that DRG can do from here. Obviously, you're not going to have that many Void Rays out very quickly, as they are pretty expensive, and you're not going to be able to afford them on 2 bases very easily, especially not while taking your third. So what some players have decided to do is just send a huge wave of both Roaches and Lings across the map and try and kill their opponent very early on, before that number can get high enough. But at the same time, there is also the possibility that we're going to see these Queens just join a big old attack. Oh no. It sounds like some people are getting ads. Yeah, that's the unfortunate thing. You tune in sometime in the middle of a game, and then the ads just start playing and rolling on in. Good old Twitch. Now these queens are a little bit far out, but those void rays are not in big enough numbers, so they will be forced back. I gotta say, I'm very impressed with DRG's creep spread right now. Just really opening up the angle of attack there on the right side, straight into his opponent's third base. And behind it, we are gonna have Spire Ro4. Now, I gotta say, I don't think it'd be the best idea to go into very heavy Corruptor air, just because, you know, we already see that transition coming down from ZOUN. He's got the Robo Bay coming in, and so it's either going to be Disruptors or Colossi. Looks like everything is kind of just going to slow down for a second here. We got the Void Ray still looking for some prey, but they have to be careful. Those queens are in way too high of a number to fight head on. I think the best timing for DRG is going to be about when his speed finishes. He should start to kind of poke around a little bit more, and we should be seeing a couple of roaches on production tab. Okay, here we go. Now, Void Rays are pretty good. They are very tanky, very beefy, but if you get enough Mutalisks, the splash damage will be enough to clean them up. And behind it, like we said, for the transition, Disruptors are on the way. Now, Disruptors are pretty good. We saw yesterday just how great they can be in many of the games, but they have one fatal flaw. They don't shoot up. I think that's something you can say about a lot of units, but in this instance, it's very important that he gets something that really counters the Muta play. And, you know, he does have the Stargates in there, so he can go into Phoenix. But the Void Rays are actually out of position. The Stalkers, they will be able to warp in, but there's no shield battery support. So DRG is going to have a little bit of a time where he can kind of just dance around this base, get a couple of probe kills, and go from there. But he's got to be careful not to lose these Mutas. Okay, so the Ling's going to be coming in as well, just looking for a little bit of a position to go into. The Disruptor will go down without its shot getting hit off. The shield battery is now overcharged, but DRG is already on top of it, so that will go down. Muta's going to get one of the Void Rays, but they're not really in the highest of numbers just yet. He has to add on those additional 5 just to make it worth it. And now these Lings are kind of trapped in the main base, but that will kind of force ZOUN to kind of move around a little bit, just kind of rotate in with some of his army to defend that. The Mutas will have +1, so that's going to help out a bit, but now the Phoenix count is really heavily starting to rise. So DRG has already got that transition coming in with the huge Roach speed follow-up here. Now, this is so good. He is doing really well, and you can see how that creep spread, like I said before, it just really helped him get the perfect position for these attacks, as it allows these queens to be the anti-air, so you don't have to waste money on Hydralisks. That's just going to make your ground army so much stronger. As we're waiting for this attack, it looks like Patience will be replacing Armani, who had a little bit of an issue, so he will be the one to take on Byun in the next game. And here we go. The Disruptor does go down before the fight really even begins. The Muta count has been decimated, but on the ground, he doesn't really have too much. Looks like the Disruptor will get a decent connection off there, take out a lot of the Roaches, but the Biles are just going to make it very difficult for ZOUN to actually engage into this. Looks like he's actually going to get a really good connection on top of those Void Rays as well. ZOUN not really paying attention, so he will lose one of them. But now DRG, he's got to be careful not to fully overextend right now. He does have a very good lead, all things considered. Kind of taking a look at this battle tab. while he is taking a lot of damage here to what's being taken down, he still has full map presence and full map control, keeping ZOUN on 3 bases. ZOUN just cannot expand right now, and if he can continuously starve him out, then it's just going to be too good on him. Disruptor will force DRG back. It's gonna get right on top of the Queens, which will force the lift ups on the Phoenix. Just gonna help out quite a bit. And now, DRG may have overextended just a little bit, as he is gonna be forced back to his own 4th base to regroup. But 10-15 Hydralisks on the way. And that's gonna be enough to deal with the air army here. So unfortunately, every single time that ZOUN has a good army count and a good army supply, it's just getting hard countered here because DRG, he's on 73 workers, or 86 workers, excuse me, and his economy has not been touched at all in this game. Also, thank you for the guys who just joined the raid. We appreciate it. Make sure you guys check out Raid Shadow Legends, just with exclamation point raid in the chat. Oof, beautiful connection right there by the Disruptor. I think that's kind of the problem with how DRG is engaging into it. He's always trying to hit the army in these small choke points up the ramp, right on top of the bases where the SimCity is actually pretty good, which is just forcing these, or allowing these Disruptors rather, to get these beautiful connections. But now DRG is maxed out once again. He's going to be adding on the Vipers as well to kind of help out with the Void Race. A couple of parasitic bombs would be lovely here. And yeah, I like this. He's kind of got this little bit of a seesaw here, forcing the Phoenix up to the top while he's got almost all of his army down here. But this is going to allow DRG to kind of have that angle to kind of rotate around. Because I think the Phoenix are actually one of the most important things about this defense, as silly as it sounds. So now Hive is complete. The Lurker Den will finish up. Looks like one of the only things that's really slowing DRG down as well is the fact that he does not have any upgrades on that ground army. So that's really going to make sure that his units don't hit as hard. Another Disruptor shot. Just going to glance the army there. Now here we go. Once again, DRG fighting into a really bad choke point. He's going to get his whole army taken down here. Parasitic Bomb going to help out with the Phoenix, but that's not enough for the killing blow. And it looks like as DRG's supply just absolutely plummets there, ZOUN is going to be able to push his advantage forward, kill off some more of the creep, and maybe even finish out this game with a W. Even the Zealous just coming in there, picking off some of the reinforcements, keeping DRG back. Looks like ZOUN just wants to hold off for a little bit longer as he transitions into the air army. Doesn't want to throw away any sort of lead to a potential remax here from DRG. Yeah, I mean, the lurkers are going to do okay, but really at this point, there's not going to be too much going on the ground. He's going to have a couple of Disruptors, yes, but, I mean, Disruptors are kind of not necessarily the hard counter, but they are a counter to the lurkers. in the chat talking about Astrea versus Trap. Oh my goodness, that proxy Nexus was beautiful. Lurker's just going to burrow, trying to keep themselves alive for a little bit longer here. Don't want to get lifted up right now, as they are really important to DRG's bottom line. Another parasitic bomb might get one of the Phoenix. Now, second will probably fall as well. Yep, there you go. And now these Phoenix are just lost a lot of their utility, as they are not really in a position to kind of do this harass that we've seen come out of Joan just yet. So far, both players are maxed out once again. A little bit more going on DRG's side of things, just adding on all the additional upgrades that he feels he's going to need. But now the Disruptor's going to try and get on top of this. They move a little bit too far forward. One of them will go off, taking out a good chunk of DRG's army. But that is a lot of those Disruptors gone now. And so that's a lot of potency in this attack, really just taken out in a matter of seconds. He will get the base, but how much further can he really push in to the small wall that's going on here? He's going to have to get some good storms to kind of move forward here. Looking like he's just going to sack, try and get the Viper. The Transfuse is a little bit too good for that. But we do have a small Zealot run by going into the third and the natural. 14 drones going down. And you know what? That's not really the biggest of deal here for DRG. He's probably going to add on a couple of additional ones. But at this point in the game, I think you can survive with just 70 drones. Kind of just, you know, replace them with army so that you have a much bigger supply here. But, you know, even in that instance, DRG is just really struggling to maintain that supply because he's not getting the engagements that he needs. You know what? I'm going in this order. Cure, Rogue, and Parting in that order. That's my predictions for Group D. A couple of good feedbacks. Going to get right on top of the Fungals. Another big revelation right there. Just going to reveal the army positioning, keeping the Lurkers honest in their movements. One storm goes down, but one storm a bad day does not make. Second one, a little bit worse. Those Lurkers are pretty tanky. Now just trying to kind of bait DRG off the creep right now as he's pushing it back really hard on the left side. It's really almost on top of the third and fourth. But here we go. A couple of good yoinks. Those Archons actually going to get taken down by the friendly fire of the Disruptors. They will have to get on it. They will have to get out of there. Now a couple of the Lurkers will go down. The Interceptors fighting off the Spore Crawlers. And I don't really know what DRG has in this positioning to help himself out. Those Hydras are starting to fall. Microbial Shroud. That's one you don't see every day. And he will pull one of the Disruptors forward, but he really doesn't have enough to finish off what he pulls forward anymore. Trying to... It's kind of the battle of the Spellcasters. And it looks like ZOUN's getting a little bit of an upper edge here. Just going to fight right on top of the Spores. Feels like he has enough to kind of close this out. Another Shroud going to go down, protecting the Hydras for as long as possible. He does have one Storm left. And with that, he's kind of, you know, he's being very patient. I got to give him credit for that because it can be hard at this point to stay completely patient. He's just really being careful. Yeah, there you go. Not really that big of an engagement right there. Kind of just poking forward, but DRG has had enough. And that does mean we are going to be going into our second game here. What is the map order? Let me remember. It is going to be Romanticide. Okay. Yeah, I think the big thing about like players like Rogue and SOS is that when the big money's on the line, that's kind of when you see them show up. The rest of the year, they are pretty hit or miss. I will agree with that. But, I mean, you know, he is still a world champion. 2017, it kind of shows that he will win when it comes down to it. And, I mean, he did make it to the round of 24 with his ESL Pro Tour points. So he did avoid kind of that hectic round of 36. So that is one thing that you can say about him as well. He is consistent. And I can't say that he's consistent because I literally just said that he is a little hit or miss. He's one of those two things, but he can't be hit or miss, but when the big money's on the line, he's very consistent in how he places. Let's go with that. And you know what, guys? We have our game number 2 spawning up here in the top position. He took that last one pretty handily. Didn't really stumble too much. Give it up for ZOUN. And his opponent down here in the bottom, he is DRG. All right, so DRG once again taking a bit more of an aggressive third base. This one a little bit more off to the side, which is pretty cool. And, you know, if this was like a TVZ, I'd be a little bit more worried about this kind of base location because you do have that rock positioning there for siege tanks. But with PV Protoss, there's no real early game unit that you can kind of fight for positional control. You really don't have that until you get up to the Colossus, the Disruptors, and things like that. So it's a less risky third base in this matchup, I feel. And as for Joan, he is going to go for Warp Gate once again. Let's see if he throws down the Stargate. Because there are a couple things he can do with a faster Warp Gate research as well. He can always go for, obviously, Adept Glaives. That is a very powerful kind of push. He can go straight into Charge Lot Archon, maybe DTs if he wanted to. But it's all a moot point. He's going into Stargate once again. And I think he's going to try and stay on meta here. Just might be seeing him go Void Rays for a majority of these games. And yeah, there you go. We do have the Void Ray going to be coming in. Oracle probably next. Going to get a little bit of damage done with that, but we saw in the last game it only got about 2 drones. That's not really the best damage for it. But yeah, it's kind of a little bit of a lull until the action really starts to kick off. And there you have it. The second Void Ray is on the way, and it has been revealed. So now what's DRG's response going to be this time? Obviously, he went for that very aggressive attack. He got caught off guard from the disruptors on the ground. So that's kind of what cost him there a little bit. This time, he's again focusing very heavily on his forward creep spread. This time going up towards that third base location. Even going to be breaking down the rocks to kind of open up that spot for him once again for those queens to be coming on in. But I actually like this. ZOUN is going to be going into a couple of Phoenix before that second Stargate comes up. So obviously, double Void Ray is going to kind of sell the fact that, hey, this is another Void Ray opening. But then you get hit with a ton of Phoenix very quickly. And that's when you start to struggle a little bit here, especially as the Void Rays start to come in and get a couple of drone kills as they transfer. 5 going down, and we'll be able to retreat from the slow queens off of creep. Because DRG actually hasn't connected just yet between his third and his natural. Behind this as well, we do have the forge for the upgrades with the robo facility. So, oh, okay. So this is what Zest did yesterday versus Raynor. That is good. That is good to know. I don't think I actually got to saw that game. Let's see if it works in the hands of ZOUN. As of always, still going to be flying around trying to get done what they can. We've got DRG, a little bit of a, I don't want to say a late one, but hold that thought as the queens are going to be lifted up. So they will all start to go down. That is a lot of power lost for DRG. Did he actually run out of energy here for the gravitational lift? It looks like he still has maybe one more, but all those queens going down, getting 5 of them, and now these Void Rays and these Phoenix just have the rule of the roost. Even gonna get 7, maybe 8. Oh my goodness, this is getting worse and worse for DRG by the second here. Every single time the queens move forward, they just get picked up. He's even gonna fight right on top of that spore crawler. He just feels that confident. Looks like he might barely save the base, but that is going to be very, very exposed to any sort of a follow-up attack from ZOUN. $10 queens for the cost of 1 Phoenix. That, my dear boys, is what you call value. And you know what? He's not done just yet. He's also going to get an additional 6 drones for his trouble. Not going to lose any more of these Phoenix. The Void Rays as well, just going to be focused firing down the, what do you call them? Extractors, just to make sure that there's not going to be that much gas being mined. Looks like DRG, not so much desperation, but going for a little bit of a Hail Mary, getting tons of swarm hosts that he will be sending across the map to try and harass. But oh my goodness, they're the ones that are going to get harassed all the way there. You know what? This creep spread actually makes a lot more sense because he has not cleared up the mineral patches up there in the top. So that will help out a little bit, but the Phoenix should be able to just kind of get on top and start to clean this out. That's why he's bringing the spore crawlers forward, to try and defend it for as long as possible. Alright, this is actually doing a pretty good job. 14 workers gonna go down. Focus fires down one of the pylons as well. One of the swarm hosts will start to fall from, they go a little bit too far from the spore, so the queens are gonna have to come forward to help. He just needs to wait for the recharge here before he goes, I think, because we do see the roaches gonna be coming in to help support this attack. But the question is, will he be able to really hold down this position, as that Void Ray count is going to start to come up, and these queens are the only anti-air that he has. Looks like a little bit of a premature drop right there as well. So those were start to fall. The Roaches going to come forward, but they will not be able to get up there without the queen support. Transfuse energy going to save what it can. You know what? DRG is still in a very powerful position right now. DRG cannot, or ZOUN cannot move out. But he does have that base up there in the top position, so that will be able to kind of send some harassment down over to DRG. But once again, tanking a lot of these bios, will lose 2 Void Rays to him. And now DRG up over 50 supply. Ooh, down. He's gonna have to hold on here, but for how long? He's trying to transition into carriers as his fleet beacon only just now completing. I don't really see DRG giving him the time to do so, as the Swarm host just going to be rotating around towards that 4th. They will be able to get some nice pickoffs on that base. We do see a small Zealot run by going towards the 4th of DRG, but that is cleaned up semi-easily, pretty easy. DRG just has to be careful not to lose the momentum. This time there are no disruptors to kind of slow him down, so that's going to help out quite a bit. The shield battery overcharge was also popped as well, so that's not going to be a factor here. He's just going to get rid of some of those cannons. And yeah, there's never enough queens, you know. You just got to go back to Wings of Liberty when everyone's still figuring everything out and just mass queens for as long as you can. It's like a couple of Swarm hosts and queens go a little bit too far from the pack. So those Phoenix going to be able to get some nice pickoffs, but again, this is just a really tough spot for ZOUN, as take a look at what he's kind of been losing here. Try and focus fire it down. ZOUN is now supply blocked. He lost too much here. His 4th base went down. He's going to try desperately to defend the bottom position here. And he will be able to take a decent engagement, as those Swarm hosts will not have their Locust just yet. The Queens are going to fight the Interceptors, and now the Carriers really don't have enough damage output for this. Actually gonna file his own Queens as well. Oh my goodness, DRG kind of hurt himself in the offense there, so he will be forced back to his 3rd base, which, by the way, is still very, very weak from that early damage done by ZOUN. Looks like DRG going to make one final big stand. He does have Hydralisk to supplement this army, and the Carriers don't really have a high number right now, and their Interceptors are all gone. But I think the Void Rays are just going to try and fight this straight up. That might be a little bit of a mistake, actually. And yeah, ZOUN is going to have to back up here, retreat before those, with those Interceptors. He's going to have to rebuild that count before he can move in again. But now DRG down below 100 supply. And that is a position you never want to be in here, as your opponent is on 151 of his own. The Archon's going to be coming in to divvy out the remaining Hydralisks, and that is going to be it. ZOUN moving up to match point in a pretty convincing fashion here. Very nice defenses. And when it looked very scary for him, he was just able to hold on. I do think Proxy Hatchery is it would be pretty fun to see, as we're gonna be moving into Jaganantha. A decent map for it. I think this is where I see the majority of proxy hatches come on down. Also, I'm going to turn myself up a little bit here just to make sure. Boom. There we go. Looks like we are going to be hopping into game now. Sushi, I got your message. Let me see what I can do real quick. Sorry about that. I could have sworn it was actually on there, but I just have to fix that real quick. Don't worry, guys. There we go. Okay. That's the one thing about like running the production is that sometimes you forget something and then you got like 6 people telling you, hey, you gotta fix that. But you know what? This guy doesn't really need to fix too much. He just needs to fix the final game of this series in his favor, spawning down here in the bottom position. Give it up for ZOUN. And his opponent up here in the top. Give it up for DRG. And Sushi, I did get it. Thank you, thank you. Now, you know, I think we've kind of seen a little bit of a pattern here for DRG. He's been doing his best to kind of get that powerful position early on with that mass queen kind of style to open things up. It's allowed him to stay relatively safe from these Stargate openings of ZOUN. The problem is he's just kind of stumbling a little bit, and I think that's the only way I can really describe it. He's out of position just slightly, and ZOUN, with his star sense, is really just able to kind of find the angles where he can abuse that out of positionness. Obviously, if he had all those queens that he lost early on with that last big attack, I think he would have been much more fine, because he would have had so much transfuse energy. And yep. Score. Gotcha. Yeah, once again, Stargate play. You know what? You don't have to reinvent the wheel for this, and that's kind of the thing a lot of players forget, is that you don't have to come up with innovative builds. You just got to do what works, and especially now that you have all this cushion, that kind of keeps you a little bit safer. Even if you lose one game, your opponent still has to win 2 more. So all you have to do is force him to stubble once, while he has to force you to make so many different mistakes. But yeah, you know, Void Ray's going to be coming in. This time DRG playing it very smart, going to be pulling away his overlords from the main base, kind of making the Void Rays work for it as he sends these first couple of adepts in to try and poke around, but they will get surrounded. by the Lings, and they will fall. Alright, double Stargate. Question is, will he be going back into that Phoenix? You know, Phoenix are a lot quicker, and they can get around the map a little bit easier in this matchup. We do have... does he have... Is this his third? No, this is his second Void Ray popping out. So it is just going to be that kind of 6 Void Ray transition into Storm, Robo. Just kind of getting that powerful ground army to deal with the potential Hydralisk transition out of DRG. Now, he does see that ZOUN doesn't have a third base just yet. He should start to get that down pretty soon because you will need that gas income to keep this up. I think for now, he's not necessarily turtling. He's kind of just keeping those Void Rays close to home to deal with these small run-bys of Lings, making sure that he doesn't get delayed when he does decide to throw down that third base. Robo facility, so disruptors are going to be a very big threat. DRG does have the Ro4 down and is pushing in for speed. Also, thank you Azamune for the level 10. Yeah, he's just going to be pumping out these Void Rays at these these queens going to be going for a leisurely stroll. The taxi is out of service. So, you know, it's a beautiful day, and they can walk it. It's nice country through the jungle. And here we go. If DRG can make this work, then he's going to be able to put himself back into to this series. But we do have 2 shield batteries down, and Disruptor has popped as well. So here we go. The Lings not going to be able to get on top of that just yet. The Adepts holding the fort. The Queen's going to have to transfuse their little... Queen hearts out as the shield battery does go down, and that means DRG is now in. Oh, ZOUN not paying attention. Is going to lose a huge amount of those Void Rays. Oh my goodness. Unfortunately, just not the best of defenses that time. Once again, taking way too much bile fire. So now he is just struggling to hold on. Down below 100 supply. 75 to 120. And yeah, I think from here on out, just the constant swell of Lings is going to be enough to close this one out. Although, you know, he does still have disruptors being produced. The problem is they're only getting 1 shot off. But here we go. DRG putting himself on the board. It is now 2-1. So remember, he's still got to battle his way back. He is down 2 games in this series. Can he do it? I'm sure he can. That's the thing about DRG, is that when you think he's dead, he's never dead. Also, sorry, just checking something real quick. All right, got everything set up here. We are in Oxide for map number 4. I gotta say, if there's gonna be any map where DRG can really take an advantage, it's gonna be this one. Shorter rush distance. That third base is a lot closer than many of the other maps, and obviously you do have that 6 and 12 o'clock position that you can kind of utilize. But yeah, I think an attack like the one we just saw is going to do wonders on this. But I hope you guys are having fun. Make sure you check out our sponsors for today's event, Raid Shadow Legends. And make sure you're also checking out that Match Reno page as well. We do have a code which is going to allow you to add a free 50 cents to that prize pool. Now, 50 cents may not sound like a lot. You know, that's about 2 gumballs out of a machine, maybe a can of soda if you're lucky. But for these guys, it means the world. And if everybody uses that code, then these guys are going to go home with a lot more than just 50 cents. They're going to go home with all the gratitude from you guys, showing that they love what you do for them. And that's going to mean more great StarCraft 2 content is going to be coming out of them, as they're going to be more inclined to do these kind of events. Now, speaking of events, anytime this guy in the top position comes out, he always delivers. Give it up for Alpha X's ZOUN. And his opponent down here in the bottom, give it up for DRG. You know, out of all of the skins from the past couple of years, I think the one I enjoy the most is actually that drone skin, the one where they're kind of mechanical, because it adds so much more than just visual. The fact that whenever they attack, you kind of heard it a little bit there, where the gears just grind. And it's just really cool to see the level of detail that they put into the stimulant screen. Yeah, stimulant, that's the one I mean. You know what, I think I'd be really scared if anybody decided to make some Robo Zergs. I feel like, oh, what's that one place? Boston Dynamics is the one that really makes all those weird robots that are very kind of uncanny valley and do all these very human-like movements. I feel like we should get a couple of them to become StarCraft nerds, just so that we can have those pet Robo Zerglings walking around. I think that would be the funniest thing. You know what? Maybe they run on stimulant. You know, stim packs are pretty powerful, and it is Stepman who built them. So, simulant. It is definitely very, very early, as you can tell. And yeah, I do agree that Neeb probably won't have the best chance versus Ragnarok. I don't really think that Neeb has the best defense for some of that early game aggression, and I think Ragnarok really kind of lives in that early to mid game versus Protoss. So I think he's just going to try and close that one out early. Oh, don't worry. I got some G Fuel right here. Shameless plug. That'll help me get up. It's very early. And also Zeiss hitting level 10. You too can hit level 10 very quickly in Raid Shadow Legends, because they do give you a lot of cool stuff for signing up with our link in the chat. I think it's like 50,000 silver. Access to a couple of additional shards to summon heroes, and a ton of energy. Like the last time I used, I made my own personal account the last time we did a Raid Shadow Legends stream, and I still have the energy overlap, and I play that thing like 4 or 5 times a week. So that's showing you how much they want you guys to play. Now this Oracle taking a very big beating as we finally get it back into the game. A little bit of a tangent there. It still kind of flies around. Didn't really get any kills. Very good on DRG, just kind of deflecting that for the time being. Now, he is changing things up here, as we do see that Twilight Council being popped rather than kind of sticking with a Void Race style. Now, the question is this going to be for Adept Glaives? Is this going to be kind of just going up into Charge Slot Archon? Are we going to see the Templar Archives come down right after this? Still yet to be seen. I'm a little bit interested in Blink. You know, Blink, probably not the most cost-effective option here. But, you know, he probably does recognize that DRG is going to be going for a very big attack. So he just wants something to deal with the roaches and the queens as they are going for another little bit of a stroll. The oracles a little bit out of their comfort zone as they fly right over top of this. And let's see if ZOUN can hold on the bile. Gonna open up the wall, but the Lings are gonna get taken down by friendly fire. It looks like that sentry energy will go down. And the robot facility just not in time. Oh my goodness. Looks like there is a repeat of the last game as the Ling is going to get in and just be a huge nuisance while ZOUN is going to be trying to defend here in the front. Cybercore, that's going to fall. There's no more stalkers with this. Oh my goodness, off of 40 drones too. This is as all in as you can get, and so far it's working for him. He's going to try and pump out one Immortal, but that's not going to be enough. GG is called. Woo! DRG kind of showing that once he can get kind of comfortable in the early game, that's where he really excels versus Protoss. He has tied it up on match points, so the next one will take it. So after this, I think we are going to be watching a YouTube video, the trailer for Raid. So we're going to see what the last map of this one is. It's going to be Pillars of Gold. All right, nice. I could definitely tell that Eno's probably feeling a little tired. He had to help out with the little switcheroo with the players. As he's the one who got the call that Armani was not going to be able to make it. But as we hop into this one, you know, I'm curious because that was the first time that ZOUN actually kind of changed up his meta, and although it wasn't the first time he's been beaten, that one seemed a little bit more crystal clear. He just was not able to kind of force out a defense. His robo facility just way too late. So the question is, does he go back to what was working for him, or does he, you know, try a little bit something else new?
Get ready to...
Sorry, just getting something set up right there. And let us check out. Put that. And I'm just checking something real quick. No. No. Ah! No, there we go. Okay, sorry about that, guys. The overlay was a little bit weird, but without further ado, spawning up here in the top position, he is ZOUN. And his opponent up down here in the bottom. Give it up for DRG. Well, thank you, Quinroth. Like I am a little bit off tonight. I usually can form a sentence a little bit easier, but I appreciate it. You know, I love doing this for you guys, and anytime that I can come out here and put on a good show for you is kind of the best night ever. I technically consider this my job right now, and if you guys remember the saying, if you do what you enjoy doing for your job, then you'll never work a day in your life. I certainly haven't worked a day in my life doing this. And you know what? I don't think DRG has taken his natural at the right spot a day and at least the last year, because he just goes straight for that third base, knowing that ZOUN is going to try and block him almost instantaneously. I think a lot of Zergs just kind of decided that it's not worth the hassle of slowing down your build order just for the sake of one little teeny tiny probe. Now he's going to be chasing that probe away, as we do see ZOUN going to be switching things up again, going straight for the Twilight Council this time. Now, obviously, Adept Glaives is probably what he's going to go for. It's either that or DTs. And honestly, just by the fact that he's going into that first Stalker, leans me a little bit further towards DTs. Which, I mean, you know, I'm not against it. You want to send hidden boys across the map? Go for it. But it's just going to be that Adept Glaive timing, which can be very powerful. We have seen DRG kind of delay that layer for, you know, a couple of seconds, but a couple of seconds is kind of the biggest of deals, especially in these instances where you can kind of see he's not really syncing up the creep to his natural. So that makes it a little bit harder to defend the kind of ripsaw effect of those adepts shading around, bouncing around. And you know what, DRG, the only thing he's seen is that it is Warp Gate, but that really doesn't tell him anything in this instance. So he is just going to throw down that safety Ro4 and get the Lings to help out. But will it be enough is the big question, as the War Prism is already complete and will be shooing its way across the map. First couple of adepts are just going to walk. You know what? It's a lovely day in the desert. They just need a little bit of walking time to make sure that they're ready for this next big fight. The Lings are going to be pretty far forward because of that creep spread. But here we go. The reinforcements coming in. Glaive is finished. And now he's just going to be looking for the perfect location to hit. Ling's going to try and get right on top of this. He does not let that shade finish. We'll be able to get maybe one of the Queen. Remember that they don't really have enough energy, as they have been throwing down that creep quite aggressively. Now, as time goes on, this is going to lose a lot of potency as that roach count starts to climb. And honestly, even though he's found a good position here to fight the Lings, he's not really target firing down what he needs. So only 2 drones gonna fall for 4 adepts. I don't know about you, but even though he did kill off a lot of Lings, that was not worth it. War Prism as well, just going to try and get done what it can, keeping the Lings in the main base. That might be the angle that he's looking for, as he's going to shade right into the third base. Oh my goodness, this is pretty bad as the roaches are getting taken down. They were just not in high enough number, but the adept count is really whittling right now. And yeah, even though these reinforcements are going to shade in, those will get cleaned up. So ZOUN, my man, he just kind of had a little bit of a bad step there. So now DRG feeling confident enough to come across the map. ZOUN has lost his presence. He's lost the ability to kind of harass now because he needs to stay at home and defend this attack out of DRG. The Ling's kind of just trying to bait the adepts forward. He doesn't want to engage into a choke point, and that's why he's kind of being a little bit passive right here, as we do have one disruptor before going into Colossus. I'm a little bit interested about that, because the thing is, while the Colossus will do very well versus the Zerglings, it's the roaches that you really have to worry for. They won't really take the damage here, but here we go. A big disruptor hit. Gonna take down one of those queens. And we'll be able to get out of there with its pride intact, as we've got the Baneling nest coming up. As ZOUN, even though he is down in supply, he is going to try and make an attack work, but a lot of his reinforcements do get caught out by the Ling, so they will fall. And honestly, DRG, if he can find a little bit of an angle on this third base to kind of attack into, to try and keep the army back, that's going to help out. Hold that thought, as the disruptor's going to find some good damage. Oh, but here we go. Really good Kongate for DRG. The Colossus will survive for the time being. There are a lot of stalkers with this, so the roaches aren't going to be as effective. And the Disruptor's doing a pretty good job of kind of forcing them back onto the edge of creep. But yeah, ZOUN just really doesn't have enough to close things out. He is going to have to be very careful here. The War Prism goes down, the Colossus goes down, and the Disruptors will fall before they can get their shots off. And I think with that, you know what? Never mind. DRG took a pretty bad connection right there. So this game is not over just yet. But with Defender's advantage, with the additional roaches coming in, I don't think that ZOUN can really keep this position. If he hits his own army with that Disruptor, I think, Sushi, you're going to have to demote him to the Drakes. But we do have a couple of Adepts in the natural base. Going to get 6 kills before getting taken down and rotating to the third, actually. So, okay, ZOUN, even though he's down in supply, he's still making some small moves. If we see DRG, he has been on 45 workers. He is on 45 workers, so he was definitely looking to end this game a lot sooner than he has. As you can see, there is not a single Mineral Boy on the production tab either. He is all in at this point, and he wants to finish off DRG. His window is closing. Let's see if he can finish it. Okay, First shot kind of whiffs. That's his only real disruptor shot there, as the second one is on cooldown itself. The shield battery did get picked off, but you still have one of them in the back helping out. 2 more roaches going down, and might get an okay connection here. Okay, 3 ravagers. Oh my goodness, this is such a scrappy fight. I don't actually know what's ahead, as it looks like DRG finally going to be pushed back. He's going to keep pushing in with the roaches, but as time goes on, ZOUN's army just getting better and better. And take a look at that last battle report. Even though ZOUN is killing off a little bit less, he still has the momentum in his favor. Ooh, beautiful shot right there, getting like 4 roaches, I believe. Oh my goodness. Yeah, he doesn't even. You know what? We can't let that go. He was just about to get hit right there. Let's speed that up. You can't. Ah, never mind.